Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel. Peter likes books, and I am so excited about doing this video today. This is my, hello Tucker, how are you? Not on my notes, please. This is my 2021 favorite books. my favorite books of 2021. My books in review. And I'm so excited about it. I sat over there at my desk, well, the dining room table that serves as our desk. I sat down there and I went through all the books that I read for 2021, and any book that I was like, okay, this was one of the best books that I read of 2021, I wrote down. So I ended up coming up with 18 books. So 2 of them I moved over to my favorite new author that I found in 2021. One of them I made the best Christmas book that I read of 2021. And then I think I took off, well, 1 or 2 other ones from there to narrow it down to the top 15 books of 2021. Are you ready? Can you wait? I'm so excited. Let's get a good thumbnail for it. Are you ready? Okay. So I just wrote them down 1 through 15, and then I went through and I put them in order of like the best to the least. Well, I have to just tell you, every single book on this list is a book that I would highly recommend, is a book that I absolutely loved. And the thing that was really hard for me was that my goal for 2021 was to read 102 books. I ended up reading 110 books. The majority of the books that I read in 2021 were cozy mysteries, mostly in a series, right? And I'm actually, if you would be interested in having me do like my top favorite cozy mystery series of 2021, I'm more than happy to do that as well, because so many of the books, like the Misfortune series by Janet DeLeon, I mean, every book that I read in that series is a 5 out of 5. I think I read 3 or 4 of them in 2021. So if you would like me to do a list of my favorite cozy mystery books or series in 2021, I'm more than willing to do that as well. So what was hard was the majority were part of a cozy mystery series. Now I think only 1 book on this list is part of a series. It is. I took all cozy mysteries off. I didn't put any cozy mysteries on this list because I know there's a lot of people that don't like cozy mysteries. So I just made these books. One of them is in a series, like I said, and the other books are standalones, or so far they're standalones. So are you ready? All right, let's get into this. I'm so excited. Reigning in at number 15 for the year is The Taking of Jake Livingston by Ryan Douglas. This book was so good. And the other thing I want to say about these books were that when I was going through, because I don't know about you, but sometimes I read a book and I'm like, at the time, I'm like, oh, 4 stars. That was a great book, right? By the way, my new, well, this has been for a while, but the new way that I'm ranking books, if you follow me on Goodreads, is that 1 star is like poor, okay? 2 stars is okay. 3 stars is like good, like I really liked it, but it just was okay. It was not okay. It was good. 4 stars is great, and 5 stars is like amazing, profound, would recommend it to anybody, okay? So that's the way that I'm ranking books. So for me, when I was going through these books, they had to be books that I like could remember what they were about, or remember why I liked them, or why they stood out to me. And I will tell you that I think every book on this list was a 5-star book. Okay, so number 15 was The Taking of Jake Livingston by Ryan Douglas. It was an interesting book. Okay, so it was about this kid that was the only black student at a prep school who also can see and talk to dead people. And this one person that he starts talking to is a former student that shot, I think it was like 6 students at his school, shot and killed 6 students at his school, and killed himself as well. So it was about, I mean, he didn't know why he was coming and talking to him, and there was more to the story that this spirit wanted him to know. It was such a good book, you guys. I mean, it was a book that I didn't really hear a lot talked about in the last year. I actually found it from a fellow booktuber. I think I found it from Robbie at Robbie Reads, who has a book coming out in 2022. I cannot wait to read it. But I think I found it, well, he's not really a booktuber anymore, but BOOKSTAGRAMer. He posts tons on BOOKSTAGRAM, and I actually find a lot of books from him. I think I found this book from him, and but other than that, I haven't heard tons of people talk about it. Maybe I'm not watching the right booktubers, I don't know. But I was really, really impressed with this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I don't want to tell you a lot about it. I will tell you it's very suspenseful, and interesting point of view, especially from a teenage student that is also like a psychic medium, if you want to call it that. He doesn't really call himself that. And then also talking about like racial diversity is a huge issue in this book, obviously, which is, it's interesting how it's played into this book. It's just a really, really good book. Sexuality is a part of this book as well. It's a great book. I will say I wouldn't say it's like the happiest book in the entire world, but I don't necessarily lean always. There's several happy books on my list, but I don't necessarily lean towards the happiest of books, but I definitely think it was a good, I think it was a must read for 2021. Okay, the next book coming in at number 14 on my list, I'm looking at my list, I'm like, where's 14? Oh, here it is. The Broken Girls by Simone St. James. And this book almost probably could have made it higher on my list. Simone St. James, I can't remember what the name of the book was that she wrote last year. Something the Sundown Hotel, Motel. Do you remember that? Okay, her books are so genius in how she writes them. She always does, and she has a new book coming out this year, which I'm really excited about. It's on my most anticipated reads for 2022. Her books always take a point of view where there's like a murder or a mystery that they're trying to solve currently, and then it flashes back to the past, and it goes back and forth. But whereas I am not a lover of flashbacks, I have to tell you, she does it so geniusly, where you're just as interested in the story from the past as you are in the current story as well. And what was this called? Broken Girls. The Broken Girls is about this boarding school, but it's really for girls that don't really belong anywhere else. And it's kind of like out in the middle of nowhere, and some really horrible stuff happens there. And then at the same time, it flashes forward to, I think it's 2014. This girl is investigating the murder of her sister from like 20 years before that was like found on that property. And so it's like she's going back, but then it's telling the story of what happened there at the same time. And there's always like, in all of her stories, there's like a paranormal element to it, of like a haunting or something. It's just, they're very, very well done. I love her books. So Simone St. James is like one of the most fantastic writers of our time right now when you talk about thrillers. I mean, hands down, one of the most, I can't believe her books don't get more. They're so underrated, and her books are they're just phenomenal. So go check out a Simone St. James book. I mean, you can read them whichever one you want. They're like, the first one, the Sundown at the Motel Sundown or whatever, like that one was really good. This one was completely different and very good as well. Okay, coming in at number 13 is The Dark by Jerry Robinson. I don't even know how I found this book, honestly. And I started listening to it, and I was, you know, because most of these I listen to on Audible, because I love Audible. But I started listening to it, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to be down for this book. And I got the main character, who I don't even remember what his name was now, Liam or something like that. He was just so enthralling as a character. He had been in the military, and he'd come home from, I think he was in Afghanistan, and suffered from PTSD, and like kind of a pothead, and so he like is living at home with his mom and his stepdad that live in like this very ritzy McMansion, he calls it McMansion's neighborhood, and he's just staying there, and he's like super fit because he's like into like I think it's like the MMA stuff or whatever, I don't know. But anyway, I'm like, okay, so you can see right from the get-go, right? Like this is probably not a book that Peter Monn is going to relate to a whole lot, but I have to tell you, it was so fantastic, you guys. And so there's like this threat that there is going to be like the moon or something is going to go pitch black, or the sun is going to go pitch black for 24 hours, and all these people are buying groceries and stuff, and there's something that's supposed to happen or whatever. Well, what ends up happening is that all these demons come out, like supposedly quote unquote from hell, quote unquote from hell, and all this stuff, like people start getting killed, and they can hear these sounds outside. But I will tell you, it's not just about that. It's also about aliens and stuff, but I don't really want to ruin it for you. I was blown away, you guys. And then like the book just like it keeps on like climaxing and climaxing. It just keeps on better and better. And I mean, it was unbelievable, you guys. So definitely recommend The Dark by Jeremy Robinson. And I want to read some of his other stuff too, because this was really good. Okay, so that was number 13. Number 12 on my list is, and I'm kind of surprised, this is where it was hard, you guys, because I really, like, for my top couple ones, top 5 books, I wanted to make books that, like, I literally could not stop talking about this year. And I said that they weren't part of a series. This was the sequel to a book, and that was Aristotle and Dante, Dive into the Waters of the World by Benjamin Ayler-Sainz. So good. So good. Just absolutely beautiful. The perfect sequel. I think it was literally the perfect sequel. And I don't want to ruin the ending for anybody, obviously, but the ending was just, I mean, chef's kiss. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And, you know, I have to tell you, the last book that Benjamin Ayler-Sainz wrote, which was called, I think, The Inexplicable Logic of Things or something like that, I did not like. I thought it was like a 3-star. I just didn't think it was that great. He has written other books that I just absolutely love, not just Aristotle and Dante. There was one called Julian, I can't remember, something and somebody go to Hollywood. That one was fantastic. And Last Night I Sang to the Monster is probably one of the most prolific books of addiction that I have ever read in my entire life, from a fictional point of view. So well done. And it's about an 18-year-old heroin addict that's in treatment with a bunch of other, like, adults that are a lot older and this roommate that he befriends. It's so fantastically done. And so, like, I mean, factually true. You know, factually true. I mean, it's, like, right on the money. And as a person in recovery, I was like, I was blown away. I loved it. I'd actually like to reread that and listen to it again. But Aristotle and Dante Dive into the Waters of the World, I loved it. There were just other books that, like, were new to me that I just couldn't stop reading. So that was number 12. Number 11 is The Midnight Man by Carolyn Mitchell, and this was really good. I'd like to read more by her too. I read several of these mysteries that took place in, like, the UK this year, and she reminds me very much of Denise Mina, who I read another book of hers this year, but last year I can't remember what the book was, but it was, I love Denise Mina. Oh my God, she is one of my favorite authors, and she wrote a book about, oh shoot, I can't remember what it's called, about a woman whose husband leaves her and takes the kids. And so she's like obsessed with reading and true crime podcasts. And so he leaves with her best friend, and, like, they go off together and become a couple. And so her best friend's husband, who's like this aging rock star, and her go, like, on the run following this true crime podcast trying to solve it. It's so good. That was last year. That was Denise Mina last year. But the Carolyn Mitchell, this reminds me a lot of that book, and it was called The Midnight Man. And it was about this woman, and she was a police detective in England, like on the outskirts in a small town. And she had gone through something tragic and had been, like, laid off work for a while, and you don't know why until the end of the book. And she goes back to work, and she's very hesitant about it. She's very scared about it. And she has these conversations with her husband where he's constantly, like, doubting her and stuff like that. So she goes back to work and she gets involved in this case, which was where these 4 girls went to this mansion, compound, huge thing. It kind of was like the Haunting of Hill House, like that's kind of house it was. And they had to, like, knock on the door and then go inside and light this candle, and they had to keep it going till, like, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. It was like this, you know, like one of those urban legend kind of things. Well, only 3 of them came back, and this girl ends up dead. So it was the police investigation about that. You guys, this book was so good. Like, I read so many books that I can't believe people aren't talking about. So go check out The Midnight Man by Carolyn Mitchell. It was fantastic. I'm like, this video is going long. Number 10 is, where's number 10? 10, where are you? Did I not make a number 10? Hold on a second. Oh, I made 2 number 12s and number 10. Okay. Well, another number up there is The Sky Blues by Robbie Crouch. This was his debut novel this year. He has a book coming out this year called Blair for the Win, which I cannot wait to read. Robbie Crouch is just a phenomenal writer, and it's just, I follow him on Instagram. It's really fun to see all the stuff that he's doing. He's so proud of his book. The Sky Blues is the story about this kid in Michigan, and his name is Sky, and he is out already, and it's just a young adult novel, and he wants to go to prom and ask well, he kind of does, and he's kind of, like, forced into it, to ask his crush, who he doesn't know if this person's straight or gay, to go to prom with him, and he kind of gets like exposed. It's like he and his friend have this whole kind of like plan in place, and then the plan gets exposed, and it's kind of like Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda, but kind of not, by Becky Albertalli, who has a new book out with Adam Silvera that I bought, but I haven't read yet. I'm so excited about that. It's the follow-up to What If It's Us? Or Is This Us? Or I think it's called Is This Us? But anyway, Robbie Crouch's writing reminds me a lot of a mix between Adam Silvera and Becky Albertalli. So if you love the both of them and their work together especially, you would really like Robbie Crouch's book. I mean, his book was fantastic. It was so good. I couldn't stop listening to it. The narration is fantastic. I mean, everything about it was, I mean, for a debut novel, it was unbelievable. So I think there was nothing amateur about it at all. I just finished reading, this is not on the list, but my new crush gave to me. It was a Christmas young adult book. It was really cute, you guys. But there were parts of it that were very amateurish to me. So, but I think part of that is why I loved it so much. But Robbie Crouch's, his is not. I mean, his is very planned out and outlined. So, Robbie Crouch's book, The Sky Blues, was a definite read for 2021. Read it this year. You'll love it. And he's got a new one coming out called Blair for the Win. Okay, so let's see. Number 11, number 10, I had no 10. So number 9 is If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy. Y'all know I'm a huge Julie Murphy fan. She's one of my favorite authors of life. When I read Dumplin' a couple years ago, she sold me. I've read everything by Julie Murphy except for one book, which is a middle grade book. That's the only book of hers that I have not read. And she had 2 books come out this year, and both of them are on my list, so I'll wait for the other one. But If the Shoe Fits is about this girl, and she's a plus-size girl, and she just graduated from fashion school, and she's going home to live with her. It's very kind of like Cinderella. I mean, it's totally based on Cinderella. A retelling, so to speak. But she's going home to stay with her stepmom and her 2 sisters, which, incidentally, they are not nasty. Like, the sisters are not, but they're like influencers, you know? Like, and they're like thin and perfect and all that kind of stuff. And the stepmother is the producer of this reality show. It's very much like The Bachelorette. Is it The Bachelor, where it has all, you know, the women. Like, come on. And she's actually not really that nasty either. She just doesn't have a lot of faith in the main character, whose name I can't even remember at this point. And so, like, on the way to go home to Los Angeles from New York City, where she doesn't want to leave, she meets this guy on the plane, and he's, like, super good looking and, you know, all that. Like, Prince Charming kind of thing. But, so she goes home, and they're, like, 1 short for the show, so she ends up getting cast on the show. And the reason that she wants to do it is because she thinks it might help her shoe line, because she developed shoes, the shoe fits. So she goes on this show, and guess who is the bachelor on the show? It's the guy she met on the plane. You guys, this book, oh my God, I cried, I ugly cried, I laughed. It was so good. Julie Murphy, can you even write a bad book? Like, I don't think she can write a bad book. Her books are fantastic. I gave it to my friend Tanya Jean. It is, this is one of my picks for Peter's Book Club. So if you don't know, I have 2 book clubs. I have Peter's Book Club, where every month I pick a book. This month, we are reading Slouching Towards Bethlehem by Joan Didion, because she just passed away, and also Interview by the Vampire by Anne Rice, because she just passed away, and I wanted to start the year off paying homage to fantastic authors, writers, essayists, because Joan Didion is more of an essayist. But anyway, I gave it to my friend Tanya, the book, because I had it, you know, for the book club, and it is still sitting next to her on her fireplace. I'm like, girl, are you going to ever read that book? She's like, yeah, one of these days. I'm like, it's so good. Okay, so the next one was number 8, and that is Pumpkin by Julie Murphy. Oh! Which is about this kid named Waylon, and he is overweight and red hair, which is why they call him Pumpkin, and he's super out and is obsessed with this show like RuPaul's Drag Race, which incidentally starts Friday, the new season, and he has, I think, a twin sister named Clementine, and she has red hair too, and she's an out lesbian. And the parents are very accepting, and he has this group of, you know, friends, and he has this crush. He has this guy that he, like, makes out with in the back room at this gas station. You guys, it's like, you can't write this. I mean, she writes it. It is that good, right? But then he gets nominated for Prom King. And the thing about Julie Murphy's clients, the thing about Julie Murphy's characters is that, like, if you read Willow Dean in Dumpling, like, you know how Willow Dean could be kind of bitter towards the world? Like, Waylon's the same way. Like, he can be totally bitter, and I love it, right? Because it's just so real, genuine, and authentic. It's not like fakety-fakety. So, fantastic. Okay, and then that was number 8. Number 7, well, before I get to numbers, well, I'll do this to my top 5. The number 7 was Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. Oh my God. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a few lines of this and then the synopsis, and then just trust me, read it. It's about a woman that falls in love with the guy that's, like, perfect, okay? Like, you know that 50 Shades of Grey? Make it much darker and actually a good book, and that you would get Behind Closed Doors, okay? It's about B.A. Paris. I mean, she is such a great writer. It's about this woman, and she falls in love with this guy that, like, is totally perfect, and how completely very wrong she was once she... Anyway, you guys, I could not stop listening to this book. I was blown away. It was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying to read. So that was number 7. Number 6 is, did I not do another 6? Oh, The Box in the Woods. And this is book 4 of the Truly Devious series by Maureen Johnson, which is one of my favorite series, period. Not just young adult series, but series, period. I absolutely loved it. I have to tell you, so if you've read the other 3 books, they all take place on this college campus, and it's all surrounding this detective named Stevie. And in the 3rd one, they kind of solved everything to do with the case, and it was over. So I kind of wonder what was going to happen going forward, right? Because I thought the school got closed down and stuff. Or they're going back to school, but it's going to be the fall. So it's summer, right? And so she gets asked to go to this camp to be a camp counselor where, incidentally, these kids were killed like 30 years before. It is the best book in the series. And, like, you know, that's so interesting to me that when you read, like, the series, that you would think, like, the first book would be the best, right? Maybe the second's good. But by the 4th book, you're like, is it really that great? This book was better than the 4th one. I loved it. And, you know, I don't know that you necessarily have to read the other 3 books to read this book. It does make it better, but... So that was my up to 6. Now, I'm going to do my top 5 in just a second, but before I do that, I want to say my favorite new author of 2021 was Alex North, and I read both The Whisper Man and The Shadows. And they were both mysteries that took place in the UK. One was about a murder that had happened, and it was about a guy moving back and, like, finding out about the murder. That was called The Shadows, and it was about, well, it was a murder that had happened years and years and years ago, and then something was happening again involving, like, which one is that? Yeah. And then the other one was about a kidnapping that had happened in a very small town. They both took place in these small towns. And, I mean, Alex North is, like, a phenomenal writer, you guys. Like, unbelievable. I was terrified reading these books. Like, I mean, and what I love is that they're of that kind of a storytelling of what's the book that they turned into a movie. And Sean Penn was in it. Like, it reminds me of that a lot, where stuff happens to, like, a group of kids. Like, it would be like Stand By Me, and then flash forward, like, 30 years, like, where are they now? And then, like, a murder mystery is going on as well. Like, that's kind of how they are. It's very well done, and they're terrifying. So that was my favorite new author of 2021 was Alex North, and the best Christmas book that I read, and I read many. I think I read, like, 6 or 7, actually. But through the year, with Christmas cozies, I read some Christmas, too. Was The White Christmas End by Colleen Wright. And you guys, this book was so beautiful. And it was about this bed and breakfast that this couple wanted to start it, and it was their last year because they couldn't financially continue to keep it open. And all these people end up stranded there over Christmas weekend because of, like, this snowstorm blizzard and all of their tragic stories that they bring together. And I literally ugly cried so hard. And I actually didn't listen to this book till after Christmas. So this would be a great winter book to read. It was so good, you guys. It was so good. It's so much more than just a Christmas book. All right, coming in at number 5. These are my top 5 for the year. These will be the must-reads, okay? Coming in at number 5 is Helen the Heartland by Jax Miller. I think it was our February book for a True Crime Book Club last year. You can also watch the documentary. I would recommend reading the book and then watching the documentary because the documentary has so much more than the book. But the book is so well done by itself. Jackson Miller has become a friend of both Mel and myself, who run a true crime book club. It is about Ashley Freeman and Lori Bible, who have been missing, I think now 20 years, something like that. Was it 19? Oh no, maybe longer than that. I don't know. I think it was on December 30th, maybe Christmas Day. I can't remember the date, you guys, it's been a while. But anyway, their mom and dad were shot and killed in Ashley's trailer, and that was like out in the middle of nowhere, and then they burn it to the ground, and the two girls have been missing ever since, and there's been a lot of rumors about what had happened with them, and they're still missing to this day, and Lori's mother is still looking for her, and looking for both girls to this day. You guys, I watched the documentary in a hotel room because my husband got us a hotel room at this really cool hotel called Ironworks for Valentine's Day, and he went to bed because he had to work the next morning, and I sat in bed and watched, I talked about this on my vlog a ton, watched the documentary on my iPad, eating peanut butter M&Ms and drinking a Dr. Pepper, and I was terrified. And you guys, the book is so good. The book is so good. And Jackson Miller came into our live stream in our True Crime Book Club, and it was so fun. So anyway, that was number 5. Number 4 was The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. This book has been on the bestseller list for a long time. It is so good, you guys. Okay, it is about this woman who, like, makes furniture, but, like, I don't say she's a carpenter because she does all kinds of other tools. She's an artist. And she's remarried to this guy that's, like, the perfect guy, right? And she has a stepdaughter that can't stand her and hates her and is, like, 15, I think. And, her husband, like, sends this bag to her of money with a note. And basically, he's gone. He's on the run. And she has no idea where he is, okay? But she knows that he says, protect my daughter or something like that. So she knows she has to protect her daughter at any expense and find out what happened. And it is them basically on the run trying to find out what happened, and the FBI and people trying to kill him. You guys, it is so good. It is so good. It is so good. So go read it. Okay. Number 3 on my list is Falling by T.J. Newman, which is so funny because my neighbor across the street told me that he got it at like Costco or Sam's Club and he couldn't put it down and he doesn't ever read. And I had already bought it, and I made it a book for Peter's book club. It was so good, you guys. I mean, it was so good. I keep on saying that, right? So good. So good. But anyway, it was about, it was told from different points of view. And it was about this guy who was a pilot. And he had a wife and 2 sons? A wife and son, I can't remember. Anyway, and they were taken hostage. And he was told he either had to crash the plane and kill everybody on it, or his family was going to get killed. And it is so tense, you guys. It is like literally, it's told like in real time. So as you're reading it, it's like, you know, 8:05 p.m., 8:35 p.m., 9:10 p.m. I mean, it's told like that. It is so done. It's so well done, you guys. I could not stop listening to this thing. I mean, it was so good. So that is number 3. Number 2. Okay, I really had a hard time. You guys, this is going to stop in just a second, so hold on a second. Okay, I didn't want to be interrupted while I was talking about my final 2. I had such a hard time deciding which one of these books to make number 1, okay? Both of them were so good for different reasons. Both of them were exciting. Both of them were nonstop page turners. Both of them were exactly what I needed at that time that I read the book. Both of them were phenomenal writing. Technically, character development, everything, okay? And both of them had a purpose and a meaning to it that took me way beyond just the story. So, number 2 was Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And you guys, if you asked me this whole year, I would have told you that this was going to be my number 1 book. But when I really sat there and I thought about it, and I thought, okay, of these 2 books, which one would you recommend the most? Number 2 was Malibu Rising. And I don't know why. I mean, they both were such number 1 books to me. Malibu Rising is about this family, these 4 kids. I think there's 4 kids that come from this mom and dad that have had this like really romantic history. And the dad was super, super famous singer like Frank Sinatra. And it's their love story and it's their relationship. And then it all goes back and forth between the oldest daughter, who is very much like Lucky Santangelo in the Jackie Collins books. And she was kind of like a surfer. They're a family of surfers. And they live in Malibu. And they lived in Malibu long before Malibu was famous. And she is like married to this famous person. And she's famous for doing like being a model. And she has this famous party every single year. And she has this best friend that's just like... I mean, it's like reading a society magazine, really. But then, like, really knowing the truth of what's going on. And so she has this super famous party every year that, like, celebrities just pop in. You know, it's like crazy stuff happens. And it starts off with the party and it ends with the party. And it's like everything that happens leading up to there. And so it goes back like 50 years and leads up to there. It is so fantastically done. The characters, the way that this book ends, you guys, with what you find out, what happens with her. I mean, it's just... It is one of those books that I will, 20 years from now, still be remembering on a regular basis. As is my #1 book for the year. And that is The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. You know, since I started BookTube, I have been introduced to authors that I can easily say are, you know, some of my favorite authors. Like Julie Murphy is definitely probably my favorite author. I would say a close tie for second is, I mean... Between her and Grady Hendrix, like, I have to read everything that comes out. I mean, like, I am so obsessed with reading everything that they've written. And there's actually saying that, there is one book of Grady Hendrix that I haven't read yet, but I have on Audible, and it's called We Sold Our Souls. But everything else I've read by him and I loved. And he just gets better and better and better. And his artistry and his storytelling and his character development just get better and better and better. So, as a lover of horror movies, okay, and as a lover of true crime... Imagine putting that together both in a book. And let me tell you what this was about. So this was about, I think it was 5 or 6 women, 5 women that were in this support group. Okay, and they had been in it for years. And the support group was because each of them were the true stories that they had based these Halloween movies, like Halloween, like Silent Night, Deadly Night, Friday the 13th, Scream. Like, they had based all of these on them, right? Like, they're true stories. So they had actually lived those. So if you imagine those horror movies, if they had actually happened, which some of them did, like Scream was based on true events. But then, because one of the books that I read this year, because I know that, is called Behind the Horror, and it was horrible. Don't you love a good pun? Anyway, so somebody's trying to kill these final girls, and, you know, the whole idea of a final girl is the last girl that's alive, and somebody's trying to kill these final girls, and none of them really get along. And some of them don't take it very seriously. And you guys, it is unbelievable. I mean, it is unbelievable. I mean, it is like eating like one of the best desserts you've ever eaten and never getting full and just being able to eat more. Like, it is so fantastic. So, my #1 favorite book of the year was Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. But a close second was Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So those are my top 10 books for 2021. Let me know what your favorite books were. Let me know what your favorite books were of 2021. And if you'd like me to do the list of my favorite cozy mysteries or cozy mystery series of 2021, I can do that as well. And I'm also thinking about doing a worst of 2021. What do y'all think about that? So anyway, let me know what you think, and I will see you in my next video. Love you guys. Bye.